Why did the diabetic go to the bakery? To get his daily dose of sugar-free cupcakes. Did you hear about the diabetic who became a baker? He couldn't resist the dough. What do you call a diabetic superhero? The insulinator. Why did the diabetic become an artist? He wanted to draw his blood sugar levels. How did the diabetic propose to his girlfriend? With a sugar-free engagement ring. What's a diabetic's favorite exercise? Pancreasursis. What did the diabetic say to the carrot? I can't beat you in a sugar contest. Why did the diabetic bring a ladder to the grocery store? To reach the sugar-free cookies on the top shelf. How did the diabetic describe his favorite dessert? Sweet, but with a side of insulin. Why did the diabetic become a gardener? He wanted to grow his own sugar-free treats. Why did the diabetic refuse to eat French fries? He didn't want to get caught in a potato luge. What do you call a diabetic werewolf? A sugar-free wolf. Why did the diabetic bring a dictionary to the doctor's appointment? To look up the word pancreas. How does a diabetic make coffee? With a shot of sugar-free espresso. Why did the diabetic carry a camera everywhere? He wanted to capture every sweet moment. What did the diabetic say when offered a donut? I'm all glazed and confused. Why did the diabetic switch to a plant-based diet? He wanted to beat diabetes. What's a diabetic's favorite song? Sugar, but in moderation. Why did the diabetic take up painting? He wanted to master the art of glucose control. How did the diabetic feel when he finally mastered his blood sugar levels? He was on a sugar-free high. Why did the diabetic refuse to become a magician? He didn't want to disappear in a puff of smoke and sugar. What's a diabetic's favorite dance move? The pancreas shuffle. Why did the diabetic become a stand-up comedian? He wanted to spread laughter and sugar-free cookies. How did the diabetic describe his favorite meal? Delicious, but guilt-free. What do you call a diabetic pirate? Captain Sugar-Free. Why did the diabetic become a musician? He wanted to hit all the right sugar-free notes. What's a diabetic's favorite board game? Candyless Land. Why did the diabetic refuse to play hide and seek? He didn't want to risk a sugar crash. What's a diabetic's favorite exercise move? The sugar plum fairy squat. Why did the diabetic go on a diet? He wanted to avoid being a sweet statistic. What's a diabetic's favorite holiday? Sugar-free Easter. Why did the diabetic become a gardener? He wanted to grow his own insulin pumpkins. What do you call a diabetic cow? A sugar-free moose. Why did the diabetic bring a scale to the picnic? To weigh his sugar-free options. How did the diabetic react to the low-carb diet? He said, "This is unbelievable." What did the diabetic say to the doctor? I'm tired of being sugar-coated. Why did the diabetic switch to sugar-free soda? He wanted to physical fitness. How did the diabetic feel when he finally mastered his insulin injections? He was a needle in it. What's a diabetic's favorite dance style? The sugar-free cha-cha. Why did the diabetic become a photographer? He wanted to capture the sweet moments in life. What's a diabetic's favorite movie genre? Sweetchen. Why did the diabetic refuse to play with fire? He didn't want to risk a caramel tie incident. How did the diabetic feel when he achieved stable blood sugar levels? He was over the sweet moon. What's a diabetic's favorite video game? Sugar Crush Saga. Why did the diabetic become a math teacher? He wanted to master the art of counting carbs. What do you call a diabetic snowman? A sugar-free frost. Why did the diabetic refuse to eat the pie? He said, "I don't want to sugarcoat it, but I'm already sweet enough." How did the diabetic react to finding a sugar-free treat? He said, "Oh, the sweet relief." What's a diabetic's favorite ice cream flavor? Sugar-free sundae. Why did the diabetic become a pilot? He wanted to soar above high blood sugar levels. What do you call a diabetic superhero's sidekick? The insulin assistant. Why did the diabetic become a gardener? He wanted to grow his own sugar substitute. How did the diabetic feel when he found a sugar-free dessert? He said, "This is a bittersweet victory." What's a diabetic's favorite movie snack? Popcorn without the caramel. Why did the diabetic start a band? He wanted to make sugar-free music. What do you call a diabetic dinosaur? A sugar-free saurus. Why did the diabetic bring a glucose meter to the dance party? To check his sugar levels after busting a move. How did the diabetic feel when he finally mastered portion control? He said, "I'm in control and sugar-free." What's a diabetic's favorite exercise routine? The insulin pump workout. Why did the diabetic become a beekeeper? He wanted to produce his own sugar-free honey. What do you call a diabetic bird? A sugar-free hummingbird? Why did the diabetic refuse to join a pie-eating contest? He said, "I don't want to risk going into a sugar coma." How did the diabetic feel when he finally found a sugar-free cookie? He said, "This is the sweetest victory of all." What's a diabetic's favorite type of dance? The sugar-free salsa. Why did the diabetic refuse to go to the candy store? He said, "It's a trap." How did the diabetic react to his blood sugar test results? He said, "Well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles." What do you call a diabetic superhero's arch nemesis? The Sugar King. Why did the diabetic bring a watermelon to the party? To show that fruit can be a sweet treat too. How did the diabetic react to finding sugar-free chocolate? He said, "This is a cocoa nutty surprise." What's a diabetic's favorite superhero power? The ability to control blood sugar levels with a single thought. Why did the diabetic start a band? He wanted to spread the message of healthy living through music. What do you call a diabetic vampire? Count sugar-free. Why did the diabetic become a chef? He wanted to create delicious, sugar-free masterpieces. How did the diabetic feel when he successfully managed his blood sugar levels during a party? He was on a sugar-free high. What's a diabetic's favorite type of exercise? Insulin ups. Why did the diabetic refuse to eat the candy bar? He said, "I'm sweet enough without it." How did the diabetic feel when she learned to inject insulin? She said, "I'm on a roller, a sugar-free roll." What do you call a diabetic with a sense of humor? A sweet joker. Why did the diabetic start a vegetable garden? He wanted to harvest his own low-carb options. How did the diabetic react when she discovered a sugar-free cake recipe? She said, "This takes the cake without the sugar." What's a diabetic's favorite form of art? Blood sugar finger painting. Why did the diabetic switch to sugar-free ketchup? He wanted to dip into healthier habits. How did the diabetic feel after a successful day of managing his blood sugar levels? He was on a sugar-free winning streak. What do you call a diabetic's favorite comedy show? The Sugar-Free Chuckle Fest. Why did the diabetic start a YouTube channel? To share his journey and inspire others to live a healthy, sugar-free life. How did the diabetic feel when he finally achieved stable blood sugar levels? He said, "This is sweetness at its best." What's a diabetic's favorite game show? The Sugar-Free Price is Right. Why did the diabetic start a band? He wanted to hit all the right notes on his blood sugar scale. How did the diabetic react to finding sugar-free candy? He said, "Oh, the sweet possibilities." What do you call a diabetic fish? A sugar-free guppy. Why did the diabetic become a mathematician? He wanted to calculate the perfect sugar-free recipe. How did the diabetic feel when he found a sugar-free cookie recipe? He said, "This is the icing on the cake without the sugar." What's a diabetic's favorite game? Glucose and ladders. Why did the diabetic start a bakery? He wanted to prove that sugar-free treats can be delicious too. How did the diabetic feel after learning to count carbohydrates accurately? He was a carb-counting champion. What do you call a diabetic who loves to dance? A sugar-free disco king or queen. Why did the diabetic start a fitness vlog? To encourage others to lead an active, sugar-free lifestyle. How did the diabetic feel after successfully managing his blood sugar levels during a party? He said, "I'm sweet but balanced." What's a diabetic's favorite type of fruit? The sugar-free kind. Why did the diabetic refuse to eat the entire chocolate bar? He said, "I'm practicing self-control one square at a time."